Hi, welcome to this podcast on chords. Energetic chords are really interesting. I'm always fascinated by them. Today I want to talk a lot about how the chords are, where they are, and how you can work with them. So we have, from aura to aura, we have energetic chords. If you see them like a big rope or a hose, and they go from the chakra to the chakra between us. These chords sometimes were formed in other lives, so when we meet again, the chord is just reactivated. For example, if someone was your mum last life and now they are your sister, that chord will still be there that you had from the past lives. So these chords are actually a very important past life. They're chords that go from every single chakra, as I said, and they vary in size and they vary in how well they're working or not working. When we're in a romantic relationship with somebody, or these are our family, the basic and strongest chord will be from heart to heart. There is also a little chord above the heart, which I call the control chord, which is what parents use to pull, and that's to do with the heart. It's just a little bit above the heart chord. I've always seen that chord. It's a secondary chord. So the heart chord goes from me to my mum to her son, from the son to the sons, from the brother to the brother. And these chords are formed, are very, very strong. And this is where the love goes backwards and forwards. The control can also go from the heart chord, but mostly it's just love and affection. We also have these chords to award to our friends. So we'll have them to our family and friends and people that we love. And the chord is always active. From the moment you connect with that person, the chord activates and it's always there. Even when we are estranged from people or they've passed, the chord still remains that love chord, because we can still love people even if they're not in our life, because perhaps they're moved out or the relationship's ended or we've made the decision it was toxic and ended it ourselves. But it doesn't mean we don't still love them and the chord isn't active. The other chord that's very important is in the solar plexus. And that chord's probably one of the most important ones because that's where we get tugged. That's our power center. And the solar plexus chord is to do with control and power. This is the chord where people will try and either give up their control to another person or be controlled or be controlling. It's all to do with power and control. Lots of parents who are very punishing with their children and very into power and control, partners who are like that, even friends actually, they will be tugging that solar plexus cord with you and you can actually feel it. The next one is the throat chakra, and that's our talking to each other, communication, which is very important that is open because that's how we connect to each other verbally and can speak. The third eye and the crown, that chord connection is usually to do with our mental relationship with the person. When I say mental, I mean intellectual. We talk to each other, the subjects we speak about, and telepathy too. The third eye is very telepathic. If you have a strong telepathic relationship with someone, it will be in those. When we are in a romantic relationship with someone, the bottom two chakras are also involved. That's the base and the sacral, and they are the sexual and attraction chords. They are very powerful in a relationship and help to shift it forward. Unfortunately, if there's been abuse, sexual abuse, the bottom three chakras are also affected, and these chords are also messed up because of that. Well, that's very sad, and I always see that when I do healing on people, that those bottom three are really, really affected, and the chord is still there. The reason that chords are important is because it's our way to connect. So it's an energetic connect that we have with these people. And the chords can be very, very strong. You can't always see them with people in terms of even as a visual and see how strong they are. But once you start practicing energetically, trying to work it out, you'll get better at it. First of all, you have to know they're there. Then you have to think how strong they are and also how healthy they are, because they can be healthy chords or unhealthy chords, in my opinion. So if you have a nice, strong love chord to your family members and friends, that's going to be a healthy cord, because what's running backwards and forwards on the cord is going to be good energy and good health. However, if you've now lost that person, or if you're now not with that person, then that cord will still be active, but it won't be giving you so much happiness, that cord and that connection. Which brings us to the point of cutting the cords. You can cut these cords if they don't serve you anymore, or they're not serving the relationship. I strongly recommend that if you're having a power relationship with somebody, that you cut the solar plexus cord. These cords can vary from very thin, like a string, right up to huge, big, almost like a sewage, those white sewage pipes. When you start working on this, you will very soon figure out how big they are when you do your visual meditation. So you just do a quiet meditation, you see the cord from you to them, you cut it. You can cut it in all different ways. Sever it, cut it between you, the control cord and the solar plexus, and that way you've actually severed it, and then the control issues should dissipate after a while. This can both be good for you and them. If you're both controllers, of course it's going to be a good idea, because you keep yanking the control cord. If one of you is controlling and the other one isn't, it's very good for the one who isn't. And it also stops the other person controlling you. Once I cut the cord, I always put some healing light there and a little bit of spiritual bandage on it. They will try and attach, of course, the controllers, but you just cut the cord again. They will feel the cut straight away, because they don't have control of you, and they can feel that they can't yank it. Because remember, the cord can sort of be yanked, so they yank the cord when they want to control you. You can also make the cords much stronger, like the heart chakra cord. If you want to strengthen it, I just see the cord from me to them, and I wrap the cord over and over and over again in love and in light, and I can strengthen the cord from me to them. These cords are powerful. The throat one, if you want better communication, you can also do that and make the throat cord very strong. Some people shut other people down energetically, and they use the cord to do that, and they'll do that around the throat. So you've come from a place perhaps where you've always been shut down and told to be quiet, and perhaps even been in a verbally abusive relationship. That cord from them to you will be only going one way. They'll try and shut you down. So there's some control in the throat cord, I believe, very much so. And so you can then cut the control part of the throat cord. I know this all sounds farther way out and different, but it is an actual energetic thing that happens between us, and we can do some things to make the cords either dissipate and disappear or strengthen. So you're either getting rid of them and strengthening them. These are the two parts. The third eye cord is where we link telepathically, clairvoyantly too. If we have a gift, our gift with them will also be activated there. It's also a place where they might try to control us, what we do and what we think. So be just a bit aware of that one. It'll be around the third eye. I had an experience when I was sitting with somebody, and they were like staring and staring when I was talking to them, that I actually had to break my gaze from them. And afterwards I couldn't understand why. It got really uncomfortable. I had to keep breaking it. And I was told that they were trying to control me through the third eye, and they were trying to attach and take control through the cord between me and them. I found that really interesting and a little bit alarming too. You'll know when it's happening, because if you don't, after a while you just can't look at them, you have to break it. And they're trying to do some, I think, a little bit of power or mind control. If you have some sexual issues with people too, you can cut those bottom two cords as well. That will help you from being controlled in those ways. It's very powerful to do it. You just do the cutting. I recommend you cut cords that are unhealthy for you. That's what I think. And strengthen cords that you want to be healthy and good for you. For example, if you've got someone who's very controlling with you and you cut the solar plexus cord between you and them now, that doesn't mean you can't have a good relationship with them. It just means that the control part isn't going to be yanking you all the time, I suggest then that you go to the heart cord with them and strengthen that. Put more love around it, energetically strengthen it. So your relationship's now going to be more about a heart connection rather than a control issue. The cords run our lives in many ways between people, and we don't really know that they exist. But once you start to see them and you know they exist, you can start cutting them. After I cut them, I always send love and light to the person. I'm not cutting the person off, I'm just cutting off an unhealthy cord. And it goes both ways, because if we've got control cords between one another that are unhealthy, it's not going to be good for either partnership, and it's not going to be good long term. When you've come in with a past life cord like this too, like you have a control cord with them already, and you've just come in, or the throat one, it's very good to cut it, because that's just going to activate, and there's nothing you can do about it except cut it. It'll just get stronger and stronger, and it will destabilize your relationship eventually and cause huge problems. I see cord cutting as a healthy thing to do for both souls. You can also cut cords for other people. I usually do this when I think they're in need of it and they can't do it or don't know how to do it. When you do this, you just see the two people and you see where the cord is. You cut the cord and you say, both people, I'm cutting the cord to help you out. If you want to reattach or you don't want it, redo it. Any healing you send is sent with free will. Sometimes people need that help. Perhaps they've got a controlling mother and they can't do anything about it, or a father, or someone in their life, someone at work who's the boss. You cut the control cord, at least it gives them a chance. That's how I see it. And if they both want to make a different decision, well, you still sent it. I don't see it interfering in terms of it's a healing. Cutting cords for other people is like a healing. It gives them an opportunity. And with free will down here, if people want to redo it and have the cord again, they can do that. You can also talk to people about these cords, and even in normal conversations, you can just say to people, I think you should cut the control cord, or I think they're shutting you down around the thing, you might want to cut that cord. People understand it on many levels, even if they're not doing the work that we like doing, they will still get that. Do some work this week. Have a look at the people around you. You'll know where the cord is being yanked. You can often actually feel it being pulled. I can feel it, particularly the control cords. I can feel when they're doing it, and then afterwards I just cut it, because it's a really unhealthy thing to try and control and manipulate other people. However, if you've already got that cord set in place, you will be very vulnerable to it, and they will get their own way all the time. Do your cord cutting and see how that goes. You can send me a message. I'm on Facebook as well with the same title, which is Spiritual and Energy Work with Wendy. So you can find me there if you want to message me. I think this is a very powerful and very useful practice, and very, very healthy. I'm sending you lots of love and light.